Hello and welcome to Cliff Reviews Art House. Sometimes I need to see a film more than once to know what I think. This tends to happen with films that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I've had the experience more than once when I'm disappointed or feel that the film is flawed, but then when I see it a second or third time I see it completely differently and change my view on it. I saw Oppenheimer on the first day that it came out and I really struggled with it. I just didn't connect with it at all. To be honest, I found it boring. I was confused on the time frames and confused as to which characters were good guys and who was bad guys. I was expecting the Trinity explosion scene to be much more spectacular than it was. In fact, I expected the film to use the IMAX for more of a visual feast than it actually did. I had the feeling that the IMAX was unnecessary for a film for which the majority of time is looking at people just sitting around talking. Now I've seen it a second time and I had a completely different experience. I absolutely love this film. I was wrong. It's a masterpiece and Nolan is a genius. So what changed on the second viewing? Well, first, when I saw it the first time, I didn't set myself up in a good way to see Oppenheimer. I watched Barbie immediately before it and the West End was buzzing with Barbenheimer hype. I really enjoyed Barbie and I now realise it was a big mistake to let Oppenheimer get wrapped into this hyped up event. Also, although I saw it on an IMAX screen in Leicester Square, the seats and the legroom in this particular cinema are not very comfortable and the queues for food and drinks were massive, so people were still coming into the cinema up to 10 minutes after it had started. The key point here is that I realise it's necessary for me to be in the right frame of mind for an intense, complex, serious film like Oppenheimer and to see it in a comfortable cinema. I think it is very complex and quite confusing. For example, the scene in black and white is actually the most recent of the three timelines. Black and white would normally signify an older event, so this seems to deliberately make you have to work a bit to deal with the non-linearity. So why do I think it's a masterpiece? Well, to start with, the storytelling is amazing. I was able to piece the whole film together much better on the second viewing. It's a story of a group of geniuses creating something that is so poetic, yet so destructive at the same time. And in that typical Chris Nolan way, the threading together of the three different stories is brilliantly done, enabling it to be viewed like a continuous story. It looks amazing on the IMAX screen. The black and white scenes are stunning. We've never seen black and white looking like this, I think. The first time I saw it, I was blown away by Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. I've really got sick of his Iron Man character, but this shows he's still an A-list actor. And Cillian Murphy was so good the second time round. I wasn't blown away by his performance the first time I saw it, but the second time I really appreciated the subtleties of his performance here. He's creating the most amazing thing, but at the same time he looks so vulnerable and weak. I enjoyed the music much more on the second viewing. There isn't really a distinct theme as in Nolan's other films, but the music is used really effectively to create a real experience, and the music is critical in creating that continuity as we jump around the different timelines. I love the kind of screeching violin at the end of the film when the screen goes black and it just fades out. Perhaps we just have to accept that you need to see a Chris Nolan film more than once to understand it. I do still have some criticisms and question marks. I think the two main female parts are minimal. Of course, it's a story that's principally made up of men, so I don't think he should make female characters for the sake of it. But I do think it's problematic to use two such great female actors in such minimal roles. They barely get an opportunity to act. Perhaps it would have been better to use lesser known actors in these parts. I particularly feel that there's a problem with the Florence Pugh part. We see her naked as much as we see her clothed, and this feels gratuitous. Given the minimal role she has, I think there's just no excuse for seeing her breasts twice. I still question why he had to shoot this in IMAX. The shots of the desert and the explosion do look incredible. However, most of this film is people in rooms talking. The close-ups of the faces do look amazing and the black and white is extraordinary. But I just wonder, why? It feels totally excessive to use IMAX for this. My final critique relates to the non-linear and confusing storytelling. And again, it's the question, why? I do get the feeling that Nolan sets himself a puzzle that he kind of has to obsessively solve, and he does this to perfection. I would say that I love his work overall, but perhaps I'm questioning the fact that I really have to see his films multiple times to understand them. I don't know, this is also a strength, so it's hard to be too critical for this. Overall, I more than recommend this film. It is essential viewing. In my opinion, it's definitely worth viewing more than once. But although the film does achieve a perfection in terms of what Nolan is aiming to do, I am starting to question why he keeps creating and solving such difficult puzzles. And for me, the gratuitous nudity in this film is a major flaw. But overall, he's a genius, and this is a masterpiece. Thanks for watching. See you next time.